Americans are one step closer to learning more about three of the biggest assassinations in U.S. history.
Give that to RFK Jr.
President Trump has signed an executive order to release all documents related to the killings of John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr.
The story of JFK and Deputy Sheriff Roger Dean Craig is one of the most controversial and intriguing aspects of John F. Kennedy's assassination on November 22nd, 1963. The upcoming podcast will deal with characters like Johnny Roselli, Joe Civiello, Penn Jones Jr., H.L. Hunt, Sam Giancana, Sheriff Bill Decker, and Ted Dealey from the Dealey Plaza. Now, the upcoming podcast is not a conspiracy theory session. It is a story that I've written along with my producing partners about JFK and Deputy Roger Dean Craig. After doing months and months of research and back engineering the events of the day and the entire 10 years after that with the life of Roger Dean Craig, this is what we found, and we wrote a story about it in a Hollywood screenplay. Enjoy the podcast. Hey, Frank, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate you being on this podcast.
Hey, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. I love being here. So my name is Frank Lyon. I'm an actor, producer, and a bodyguard, but acting and producing, that's my wheelhouse. And a buddy of mine, Steve Cameron, who's also a producer himself, he brought me a project about a deputy sheriff from the JFK assassination called Roger Dean Craig. It's an amazing story, how that one day affected his life. And he asked me if I knew anybody who could write a script about it because he got the rights to the screenplay. And I told him I got the perfect guy, Steven Sapir, great screenwriter, producer himself. He's made awesome movies, Wages of Sin amongst some of them. And
You're in it.
So here we are.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing the project to me. I think, I believe Steve got the rights from the son of Roger Dean Craig, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed,
right?
He did. Yeah, he actually went to Dallas and secured the rights. We had amazing interviews with the son. He told us amazing things about his father and how that one day affected all their lives, him, his mother, their whole family.
Absolutely. Now, are you on the, what floor was the shooter?
The sixth floor of the bookstore depository in Dealey Plaza. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
As you can see from my filming here, I wanted it to look a little Zapruder-like filmish. You can see my background here is kind of similar to that.
I think the story was quite fascinating. So once you brought the project to me, and I started doing research on just the story, and there was so much stuff flying around about Roger Dean Craig, and there was a lot of conspiracy stuff going around. Sometimes just average folk who are not into conspiracies are just going to kind of blow that off in a sense. So I wanted to do my own research on it, and one of the reasons I think. We spoke about this is because now I guess President Trump is releasing some of the JFK files, right?
Right, indeed he is, yeah. So I mean, we'll see how that goes. The thing with me is I'm not big on conspiracies. I don't buy into a lot of conspiracies. However, with this JFK project, having done all the research with you as well, there's just too much. There's too much going on that it can't have just been Oswald and the school book depository. There's too many gears spinning for it just to be that thing. So that's what intrigued me also about the
100%. I agree with you 100%. And I have to say, engineering it back. So once I got all the information, right? Because the information was really through different books, different some of the interviews. But also it was kind of vague. Nothing was like set in stone. And to tell a story about a screenplay, about especially a biography such as this, such an important biography as this, it is really important to make sense of it all. So when I got all the information, I did about 3 months of research, reading every book besides the information that you brought to me via Steve. And I realized as I back engineered this process of this man, Roger Dean Craig, and there's no way in hell that the story that they put together with they meaning the government at the time made any sense. And it could have not been Oswald, by any stretch of the way. And the other thing is also, if this situation, like what happened to President Trump, there's social media, videos, there was one Zapruder film that they managed to control,
Exactly.
to take. Now, today, there is 1,000 iPhones that pop up,
Sure.
and so tell me your thoughts about, because I think the screenplay that I wrote is extremely detailed. It's really, really jumping almost 3 to 4 decades of what this movie is about. What are your thoughts about the screenplay and after we went through all this stuff?
Well, first off, congratulations on The Deputy. It's an amazing screenplay, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of it. I just reread it, and I mean, even though I've already read it, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 times. I hadn't read it in a while. I read it last night and again this morning. It's captivating. I mean, you're taking everybody through not a conspiracy, but an amazing ride through the unfortunate events that happened, in 1963 in Dallas, and what happened to this one sheriff, Deputy Roger Dean Craig, how it affected him and his whole family, and ultimately, what ends up happening to him. Reading the screenplay and doing all the research and everything, it's amazing how, at the time, the perfect storm of events could come together for this to happen. In modern day, like you're saying, with cell phones, iPhones, Androids everywhere, I don't think this could have been sealed up the way it was back then. But like I said, I'm not a big conspiracy fellow or anything, but this definitely is. There's something fishy, very, very
Well,
fishy.
I think you're absolutely right. And again, I think looking back at this man's life, first of all, like just going through on top of my head of the research that I have found, there was too many coincidences in
Right.
play. Too many,
Sure.
And it's funny because I pitched this screenplay. I took a dozen meetings in Hollywood about this film with some really high profile people.
Yeah.
And one of them, can't name names, but one of them was like, "Oh, I know the prosecution in Louisiana. I know that guy. I know this guy. I know this guy. None of this is true. It was one shooter." He just dismissed it. Now, this man was in his 70s at the time, so he's probably 80 something years old now. Big
Right.
player in Hollywood. Big player. Okay,
Sure.
producer, studio head kind of guy, and he just dismissed it, and he kind of shut it down. And I'm thinking to myself, well, did you read the screenplay? Like, did you read the facts? He didn't want to address it. So it's interesting because when you look at Roger Dean's life, he was just some average guy. He was no
Right.
hero. He was just some
Right.
average guy,
Right.
just living his dream. And it's just, to me, it's one of those things where you have, the mafia was involved in that sense.
Well, Jack Ruby obviously was connected to the mafia, connected to what was it called, the Zamora Hotel. I mean, all the mafia guys there. I mean, there's just too much. You have the corrupt police department of Dallas at the time. You have Decker, who's one of the main people seeming to want to sweep everything under the rug. And like you're saying, the fellow that you spoke to in Hollywood, the 70-year-old, was just dismissing it as Oswald. It's amazing to me, people like that who either A, don't want to dive into things because it's much easier just, move it aside, or B, they don't want to open up their mind and wait, there could be periphery possibilities here. Not everything is black and white binary. Sometimes it's that gray area, and that's where this amazing script, lies, in that amazing gray area with lots and lots of facts. And like you said, coincidences. Growing up, one of my favorite things to read was Sherlock Holmes. One of his things was saying, there are no coincidences, especially when there's so many there. No, there's something here.
So, it's funny because when I was talking to some people in Hollywood about this film, everybody was dismissing it, and there are some other people who recently have come out and said, "Oh, I know, I have proof There's 5 shooters, 6 shooters, or whatever it was.
Sure.
It's interesting. I think the dynamics of the world is changing as we see it, right? It's
Definitely.
really balancing it up. And this is why maybe there is a possibility for this to actually come to fruition. What are your thoughts about the chain of events that happened?
Well, starting with Deputy Roger Dean Craig, for instance, like you said, he was an average deputy there. He wasn't an extraordinary fella, any kind of a hero type fella. He All he did was tell the truth of what he saw that day, of who he encountered, what he saw. His story never changed. Again, when you go back to detectives, what's the expression? Tell the truth. There's less to remember that way. His story never deviated. It always remained the same. He went from 1 year being a deputy of the year to being fired, and his life tumbling downhill from this event. Yet his story remained the same. He made no money. He didn't profit off of this at all. He wasn't searching for notoriety. He was just a family man with a son and a wife trying to make it like the rest of us. So that to me intrigues me the most, seeing how this basically destroyed his life, literally ended his life. And I mean, that to me is one of the most poignant parts of this, because he's an any man, just like us, an everyday man, And imagine, maybe modern times it might be more difficult, but something like this happens to you. You happen to see something, you start reporting, hey, this is what I saw. No, you didn't. You didn't see that. Quiet. You keep talking, there's going to be an issue. You start getting death threats. Calls start coming in. What's going on here? And you're like, but I have to tell the truth. This is what I saw. The truth is in the balance. If we don't have truth, what do we have? We live our own truth, and we hope everybody else does too. And unfortunately for Roger in this case, it ended poorly for him.
It's there were so many different elements in the story, and I just want to point out the screenplay, as you know, is not about just the one day of what happened.
No, not at all. Yes, no.
It goes, yeah.
You brilliantly. So sometimes when people hear a JFK project, they think we're going to regurgitate what happened. Everybody knows what happened that day. You got assassinated. Things happen. Zapruder film. The babushka lady. All these things. That's not what our movie is about. It's about Roger Craig and what happened to him because of that day. And everything he learned in his own investigations and dealing with Garrison and Penn Jones, the journalists. I mean, everybody. So that's what makes this film a little more intriguing to me than, say, other JFK projects that have come before.
I've never seen anything like it, bro.
Exactly. That was my point. Everything else focuses on, recreating. Maybe this happened. Maybe we're basing it on the facts that we were able to find, that you were able to find, that Steve Cameron was able to bring to us as well to find. And that's, to me, what makes this. It's a story of a man and what happened to him because of something he witnessed and how it changed his life, unfortunately, for the negative. Trying to do the right thing, because he was an honorable deputy in, unfortunately, a corrupt environment at the time.
That's to put it very lightly. Yeah. Roger Dean Craig was a hero. He was an American hero.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. End of story. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what the media at the time, the limited media, the convoluted media at the time, put this together and try to make him look like this dipshit that he wasn't.
Sure.
And he wasn't a politician, so he wasn't a smooth talker.
Sure.
He was just, this is what I did. This is what I saw. No, I saw this. And I did it. No, I saw this. This is what happened. And because, like you said, he never deviated from the truth.
Right.
They ruined his life. And at the end, they said it was suicide. And I don't know how you can shoot yourself with a fucking shotgun 6 feet away and call it a suicide.
Not to mention the other purported attempts on his life, after the fact, after what he saw.
Before.
Throughout the years prior to his life coming to an end.
Yeah.
And that gets you thinking, even I mean, the media seemed to be conspiring. Everybody seemed to be conspiring against him, and you wonder how this came to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is it just LBJ's influence? The mafia's
Oh,
influence.
oh,
You
let me tell you something about LBJ. I
know?
when I was doing my research and I found a clip which is on YouTube so people can look at it.
Yeah,
Walter Cronkite is interviewing LBJ and he asks him point blank. He says, "Was there a conspiracy? Was there more than one shooter? This, that." And I'm gonna, since we're on camera, I'm gonna demonstrate how his body behavior was so uncomfortable. Match it. Go look up LBJ, Walter Cronkite, JFK. He literally, he's sitting there like this talking. When this asked the question came in, and he's like, "Well, it's just he's trying to get out of the frame. His physical body is trying to
sure,
get out of the frame." And he says there's a possibility of conspiracy or whatever. My God, if a body behavior doesn't tell you that
sure.
this fucking dude is trying to get out of the frame by answering the question, come on,
Yeah.
man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so he went to his death knowing the truth.
Yeah.
Listen, it was to the benefit of a lot of big industrial folk to get rid of JFK.
Sure. Sure. I mean, you
And
go into it in the script, talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis, Vietnam, everything, civil rights, all these things that people like LBJ were against. Like a lot of people who don't know, he was a major racist, maybe even a KKK member. People don't see these things. A lot of people at the time, I mean, not just the people involved in the assassination, a lot of people when JFK was in office, they didn't like him, first off, because he was Catholic and most of the presidents are Christian. But secondly, because he wasn't a racist. He was trying to bring everybody together. We're like, oh no, we need this segregation. We need to have colored folk where they belong. And that was also a huge thing that I think, and you showed it really well. It permeates through the script as well. The people like Roger Craig, for instance, was also not a racist. He seemed to embrace everybody, and that too seemed to be a mark against him, with the powers that be. So that's another aspect that's interesting.
listen, I don't know how many people, I want to say 30 plus, were killed, fell off a building, fell off a bridge,
Sure,
found suicidal somewhere.
sure.
I
And
don't
that's
want to,
their brakes went out and went off a cliff. Just things happen.
there's so many people. If you go back and investigate what happened through these, how is it that some incident happens and then everybody that's witness to it dies one after another?
Oh yeah. I mean, just think about like the mob boss is going to be prosecuted, and there's maybe one witness, and mysteriously this witness disappears or is found dead. Oh, mob boss is off the hook because that was the only witness. So
You know,
getting rid of leaks basically seems to
yeah.
be
I mean, we're talking reporters, we're talking prostitutes, we're talking strippers, we're talking
sure.
people that heard things. I mean, Jack Ruby was working for Costello in
Yes.
Louisiana.
Right.
And then he was running Costello's operations in Dallas.
Yeah.
So, and then all of a sudden, Ruby is allowed to come to the where all the cops are bringing in Oswald. He just walks right in, and with a gun.
Yeah. Well, even that part, I mean, you brilliantly depicted in the script as well. The deputy sheriffs of Dallas wanted to do it in the cloak of darkness, hiding him from sight of everybody. Where all of a sudden the police department is like, oh, no, 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 no. The media wants pictures of him. Let's let everybody know where we're going to be, bringing a high profile person in that say people who loved Kennedy might have also wanted to take him out, right? And then, yeah, let's just put him here for everybody to take a shot at him. That was very telling as well. Like, why? Why do that?
The Warren Commission did not include Roger Dean Craig's testimony. They excluded a lot of his testimony. They excluded
No.
a whole bunch of other people's testimony that kind of agreed with Roger Dean Craig's perspective.
Right.
They put this book together. LBJ called up the head of Warren Commission, one of the judges that was doing it, and says, "We need to wrap this up now. I mean, it's like on tape. We need to wrap this up."
Yeah.
What? Okay, like if that's what it is,
Yeah. Well, especially being that it was the president that was killed, and not to minimize anybody else's life, but if it was just a Joe Schmo on the street, maybe I could understand that. But it's the president of the free world, the United States of America. Let's just wrap it up. One guy did it. That's it. We're done.
Yeah, no,
That to me is what like gets here. Like, wait a minute, why
no.
why is this happening so fast? Take your time. Even like I enjoy watching Forensic Files, Dateline. Investigators, even if it's an unfortunate poor prostitute that's murdered, they take their time, years sometimes, to find the darn killer. This one here, a couple months, few months, we're good to go. Yeah, all said and done.
Yeah,
That's
no.
what throws me off. Yeah.
The names that I found through, I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of names that I came up with when I was researching this thing,
Yeah.
and I'm going to give you my 2 cents, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Okay,
Sure.
and I'm just going to start with Johnny Roselli. Johnny Roselli was a mobster. He worked for the
Yes.
mob.
Yeah.
Funny enough, when they killed Roger Dean Craig, what year was that? 74? 70,
75, I think.
75?
I think it was
Suicide?
75.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But I think 75.
Months apart, they found Johnny Roselli's body in a barrel somewhere in some
Yeah,
waters.
a 55-gallon oil barrel. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Johnny Roselli, who was in Dallas that day, once they cleaned the slate with Roger Dean Craig and Johnny Roselli, because there was a commission at the time, a JFK commission that was interviewing these guys, and Roselli went on that, I think, and then like after that, he was found in a barrel. So,
Right.
Roselli was there conducting this operation, probably with the CIA, from what I recall, and what forward. Now, there was a guy named Joe Civiello. Remember him?
Joe Civiello, of course. Yeah.
So, do you recall like the scene in the opening where it's like his restaurant?
Yes.
Expand on that a little bit, just kind of
I mean,
let the audience.
so in his restaurant, you would have mobsters from bunches of different areas. You'd have local police mingling with mobsters at his place. Was it called the Zamora Clubs?
Zamora Club, yeah.
Club. Think about that. Like, say, modern day, you have, I don't know, the governor, so mingling with mobsters, known killers, known, hitmen, racketeering, gamblers, and hey, prostitutes, you name it, was there. But the fact that law enforcement in Dallas, this was like their spot, so it was known, maybe not in the country, but there, that was a corrupt force, that they mingled and they were basically one and the same as the underbelly of society there.
They used to play poker together, private poker rooms.
The chief every 2 weeks would play there with the mobsters. Decker would play there with the mobsters. So imagine that. I'm a mobster, you're the chief, and you're my buddy. I whack somebody. Don't worry, I got this. Run on the lug. But make sure you win. You make sure I win next week. Give me a royal flush or something. That's the crazy thing when you think about it. And
yeah.
And again, like I said, I'm not a conspiratorial fella, but when you see things like this, and then sweeping everything under the rug, trying to keep everybody quiet, that you didn't see that. That didn't happen. You didn't see the Mauser 7.65 rifle. That's not what you saw. You didn't see that. You didn't see the 3 cartridges lined up perfectly. No, they were scattered on the floor. So you're telling me that my eyes are deceiving me when I'm seeing things right up close. All these little things.
The guy who wrote the report on the Mauser rifle had it initially correct on the paperwork.
Yeah.
And he confirmed what Roger Dean Craig was saying.
Yep.
But after the fact, he went back and altered it, changed it, modified it to a different rifle. How is that? I mean, it's like I'm looking at this going, okay, this is a black cup. It's got silver top. No. This is a blue cup with gold top. I mean, and you're not just glancing at it. You're investigating this fucking cup.
Right.
And
Right.
you got it wrong? Really?
And again, coming from Roger Dean Craig, who was Deputy of the year prior, you know,
There you go.
it doesn't make sense. Obviously, he has an eye for detail, and that's not something,
No.
not something he would confuse, especially being right in the presence of it.
So
a myriad of things that they discounted that he said that he was there actually witnessing. So
and I think the only one with the backbone, honestly, was Roger Dean Craig, who decided just to not listen to anybody, which could be
Sure.
pretty crazy at the time.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
he risked his life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other people were like, "This is too big. This is too big for me to have." So listen, what I want to say is, this is not a conspiracy theory. These are facts. Okay?
That's my whole point. Yes.
These are facts of the things that went down.
Right. Well, that's my whole point. Sometimes when people hear about a JFK project, they just think about the conspiratorial nature of the JFK project. What you brilliantly did here was blend all the facts in and let people decide for themselves with the facts what happened to this man's life and what maybe their prior knowledge to JFK. So that's the brilliance of this script is, again, it's a JFK story, but it's not about JFK. It's about Roger Dean Craig. Basically, like you said, a real American hero.
100%. And I got to tell you, the guys to come in mind to play this role are Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, yes, definitely.
He'd be incredible for this role. It's
Sure.
a character-driven role. This is not about JFK. Roger Dean Craig could have witnessed a friggin' accident and said, no, that car hit that car. It's not about the assassination, about, what everybody wants to, it's a JFK movie.
Right.
Well, first of all, what's wrong with that? You don't have it right yet.
Right.
You don't have it right. Now,
we're still in the dark,
We're still in the dark.
Your script is going to help bring it to light once it gets out there and made.
And the other thing is, JFK movie with Oliver Stone, was a great movie, right?
Sure.
But it was a lot of talking.
Yeah.
It was a lot of, I'm going to meet this guy. He's going to tell me what he said. This guy, then I'm going to lead with this guy. And then he's going to talk about this guy.
Yeah.
And that lends itself, as great as a movie as it was, that lends itself in the territory of conspiracy.
Sure.
Because he's explaining the Louisiana prosecutor going and talking to these people and hearing what these people have said. And that's how the director presented it to the audience.
Right.
What we have are factual actions that happened to this police officer, this deputy sheriff.
Yep.
And it goes on from 1963 to 1975.
Yeah.
A 10-year span of this character. Listen, man, some roles for actors are gold. Okay, this role is gold for guys
definitely.
like McConaughey,
for guys like Leonardo DiCaprio. I think might even fit the bill. There's a lot of I mean, just even just phenotypically, facially, like he could.
Yeah. He looks a lot like him.
Yeah, he could really.
He looks a lot. Yeah. And then you got Matt Damon is another guy that can totally pull this off.
Matt Damon totally came to mind as well. Yeah.
And all these guys, like Matt Damon's got this Robert Kennedy film. It's been on IMDb for I don't know how many years. I guess it hasn't happened yet. But the system that has depressed this story of JFK wants to, obviously, is at war now in a sense with other social media formats. See, the platforms of social media has changed now because you have now Mr. Beast having more views than Fox, having more news than Universal. You name it. The studios can't keep up with Mr. Beast.
That's true.
So the platforms have changed, and the truth is coming out. And look, man, The last thing I am, or I know you are as well, is we're straight shooters. Like, this is no bullshit.
Yeah.
This is what happened. Now, the people that were involved, I'm just gonna rattle them off, and we can chat on it. Was obviously Johnny Roselli, Joe Civiello, Penn Jones Jr., which is an interesting character. Do you want to talk about Penn Jones Jr. a bit here?
Well, yeah. Well, he was a journalist that contacted Roger Dean Craig and kind of I want to say was the catalyst towards the end of his life to his downfall.
Mhm.
You know, he kept him going. Where who was it? His former partner Ingram, who unfortunately died of cancer. He had told him, "Get out of Dallas, man. You're done." But he wouldn't do it. First off, because of his conviction, but secondly, Penn Jones kept pushing him like, "Oh yeah, no, keep going, keep going. You got this. You got. It's gonna be okay." Even after one of the last attempts on his life before he committed suicide or was more than likely murdered,
Yeah.
he got run off the road and down a cliff. Probably broke most of the bones in his body, and the Penn Jones fella was still, "Hey man, you're gonna be okay. Let's keep going." You know, that was horrible in and of itself. You know, because if the poor
No.
fella, even with his convictions, that he paid attention maybe to his wife, you know, hey, you know what, maybe we should let this go too. But no, he was a true American hero. I'm going to see this to the end, whatever happens to me. And unfortunately, in 1975, you know, saw what happened to him.
Yeah, I mean, prior to that, some guy shows up randomly and he wants to meet him, and he takes him to a car
Oh,
lot.
yes.
Talk about that. Talk about that.
So what was it? A cocaine riddled fellow. I can't think of his name. Harry something or other. Anyhow, he's a fellow that Roger Dean Craig knows. Says, "I have some information for you. You need to come meet me at this Waffle House." They go into the Waffle House, and mind you, this is a very sketchy fella, drug addled, everything about him. Go into the Waffle House, and he notices a couple fellows that seem to be following him, or shady guys in suits. Roger Dean Craig does. Harry gets all nervous and decides to leave, and Roger Dean goes after him. He's like, "Hey, what's going on? What were you going to tell me?" The guy drops to the ground. He's like, "What are you doing?" And luckily, Craig kind of bent down. Shots fired. I think it grazed the side of his head. Could have killed him. And he's like, "Whoa!" And then that guy took off in his car. So it's like, what was this about? Why am I being set up to be killed here? You know. And
Yeah,
again,
he stepped off the curb. He stepped
yes.
off the curb.
And again, the only reason that happens is you're getting close to exposing the truth, and people that don't want the truth known need to silence you. If he was just a nobody, a quack, then why? Why all these attempts on his life? Why keep bugging him? You know,
Exactly.
FBI, you know,
Exactly.
men in black, you know, all these folks. Again,
Exactly.
if he's just a nobody, let him live his life. But he wasn't a nobody. He was an American hero trying to reveal the truth and let the folks know that, unfortunately, within our government, within our police forces, there's a lot of corruption. You know.
And then you go to the bigger scale of this. This goes on and on. H.L. Hunt.
Mm, yeah. Well, I mean,
Let's talk about him for a second.
you got oil industry, big money, all these people that they were all also related to the John Birch Society. You know, racial KKK type folk, also wanting, you know, their pound of flesh here. Like, hey, the status quo, white is right, basically. You know, let's let this be, right? This fella Kennedy, he was gonna keep them from having their nice little this is the way it is, you know, colored folk down here, we're up here, everybody's happy. Well, no, everybody was not happy. You know, everybody wants equal rights. Kennedy was about that, and they didn't want this.
Well, first of all, the Secret Service knew that they were trying to assassinate Kennedy. I think they were going to kill him in Florida or Chicago, someplace,
Mm,
where they decided to helicopter him in. They knew this was happening.
yeah.
The guy who was part of this Birch Society, I forgot his name, was on the ground
Yeah.
in Dallas. What was his name? Do you remember his name? I
Yeah,
have it in the script.
it escapes me right now, but yeah.
Yeah. So he was there, but he was also in Chicago, in Florida.
Right.
He was trailing Kennedy,
Yeah.
and he was literally I think his God, I want to remember his name. It's in the screenplay that we done. But he spoke to a undercover FBI agent on tape saying that we're going to take care of this Kennedy fella.
Yeah.
He literally said that, and he was in the crowd when they shot him.
Yeah.
So going back to Oswald, we're talking about so many different things. At the end of the day, he was a patsy. He was a hey, look at me situation. That's
Yeah.
all that was. I don't think he knew the entire truth. I
Right.
think he was part of a group, and they said, no, 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 you're going to shoot him, and you're going to do this, and they set him up to be the fall guy.
Sure.
Um, he may have taken a shot or two. I don't know if he hit or he missed,
Right.
but he wasn't the only one taking a shot.
In the screenplay, there's a I forget who it was that Oswald tried to kill. It might have been somebody from the John Birch Society.
Yes,
It might
that
was it Hunt?
the
I'm not sure.
general. No, it was
The
the
general.
general.
Thank you. So
McCarthy or no some.
yeah, I can't remember his name, but anyhow, he's a sitting target at a window at about maybe 50 yards, and Oswald could not shoot him. I'm no firearms expert myself by any means, but a moving target, 3 shots, bam, 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 in succession, perfect basic shots, are not going to be made by somebody who cannot hit somebody sitting down, 50 yards away.
Yeah, and he had the time to be behind the tree,
Yeah.
looking through somebody's house window.
Yes.
And this, I believe it was General somebody who had a murky past as well. He was kind of doing some shady stuff. He tried to kill him, but plenty of time. He missed.
Yeah.
So there's no way I can believe that the guy who had 50 yards to perk up, take his time, and take a shot missed, and then he perfectly drilled holes into the president. No fucking way.
Right. And then you also have what was his name? The police officer, was it Buddy Walters, I think was his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He found the 45 slug that obviously did not match the rifle, and all of a sudden, no, you didn't find the slug. Oh no, I didn't find a slug. You have all these little things which obviously would indicate that there was more than one gun used. So at least, even if you're saying, even if Oswald had taken a few shots, there was other shooters. I mean, you had the evidence there. Actually, he found the shell casing within Kennedy's brain matter, and then slipped it into his pocket. And then, no, I didn't find anything.
Again, and then a nice clean bullet was found on the gurney in the hospital.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's fucking put a bow around it.
Yeah.
And put an arrow towards it. This is the bullet.
Yeah.
The magic bullet.
It's all these things, put together, maybe one thing on its own, but like you said, all these coincidences, it's too much. It's kind of like, say, somebody tells you, hey man, that Frank guy, he's a jerk. You're like, well, I know Frank, he seems pretty cool. But then you got 20 other people say, man, that Frank guy's a jerk. Well, you know what Frank is? He's a jerk. So if you have all these coincidences together, no, this is a conspiracy that is a true conspiracy that really did happen.
LBJ went to a gathering in Dallas. I want to say 3-4 days or right before the assassination happened. A secret society, like the guys you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oil industry, industrial, and they said that you're going to be our guy. He knew.
Oh yeah.
He knew he was going to be the guy, and so listen, what's very clear, and I want to say something about Dalton Trumbo, the writer, Dalton Trumbo. Dalton Trumbo did a movie about JFK called Executive Action 1973, and it was starring Burt Lancaster, and they talk about, and I'll put the link to this movie in the descriptions below. They talk about the details of how this group of men were going to take care of the president, right. JFK.
The problem.
It is so well done. The reason Dalton Trumbo did this movie is because when Dalton Trumbo was blacklisted in Hollywood and Kirk Douglas went to him to write a screenplay for him, the reason Dalton Trumbo wrote this film about JFK is because when Kirk Douglas went to him to write a screenplay, when Dalton Trumbo was blacklisted by Hollywood called Spartacus,
Yeah.
Kirk Douglas went to bat for him, kept his name on the script, saying, no, 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 he's my guy. And then JFK went to the movie theater, to the premiere, saw the movie, and said Dalton Trumbo did a great job. And he justified Dalton Trumbo again as a solid writer in the industry.
Sure.
That's what JFK did for Dalton Trumbo. So when they killed JFK, Dalton Trumbo, who was extremely intelligent, I mean, a little bit neurotic, but very intelligent,
Right.
wrote that script and they made the movie in 1973. Now, the new generation, obviously, this is probably the first time they heard of this movie because of cats like you and I
Sure.
talking about this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And but again, it goes back to uh, I
Right.
love the craft. I love the stories that were told. Both JFK movies we have referenced. When Roger Dean Craig first wants to become a sheriff officer, but he's too light,
Oh,
and then
eating
he
the
goes and
bananas to gain weight to make weight. Yeah.
eating
Definitely.
bananas, putting coins in his pocket to get the
Sure.
weight to become a deputy officer, or where he didn't have any money for Thanksgiving, and
He saw a turkey and chased it down. Yeah. He killed it. He's like, honey, we got Thanksgiving meal going on now. Yeah.
Well, this
But
is a
like you said, he
very
was an everyday man who was just trying to make it, for him and his family. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he was a very interesting guy, and again, just to me, this is actor bait for the problem is sometimes the system, right? I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example about screenwriting, and on my channel, I will be talking about screenwriting quite a bit when the time is right.
Yeah.
Um, I went to a director once, different screenplay, right? And I said, hey, what about this? And he's like, yeah, it's very good, but what about this, change that. So I made the adjustments to the screenplay to what he wanted. And then I think it was the second time or third time I said, so what do you think? He goes, it's great. He goes, it's great, man. I said, thanks, I appreciate it. So can we talk about it, get it to this agency or that? He goes, man, I'm doing my own stuff, man. I got to put my movies first. So I realized very quickly, no matter how great your screenplay may be, if they have their own agenda to make their own movie and make money on that agenda, or what we talk in some of the other podcasts I have, directors talk about packaging, and they call it the product. Some they don't like to call it the product, but that's what it is. It becomes a
Right.
product. The story itself sometimes just gets, oh yeah, the story is this. Who's attached? Who's directing? Who's the studio? That's the product. Can I get on this wagon and go along this product versus can I shepherd the story? So an example of someone who's shepherd is Kate Winslet. She just made a movie called Lee about a World War II uh, journalist, a real person.
Yeah.
And I saw the movie, and it was fantastic. And it took her 7 years to do it, but it's this, and tons of actors are in it.
Right.
And it kind of reminded me a little bit of what we're doing here, which is
Yeah.
a story that needs to be told. It needs to be told,
Right.
and it will be told.
Definitely.
This movie will be told. It's just a matter of time of when it
Yeah.
falls into the right hands. But going back to Hollywood, hey, I want to make my movie, regardless if your movie is this or that or the other. Is it less better than you? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's my product. It's my movie. I'm gonna make my movie, no matter how great your movie is. And so the industry is going through some changes right now, and I think because of these changes that are happening, the industry is getting rattled a little bit. The streamers came in, they shook things up.
Oh yeah. I mean, TikTokers, the Instagram
Yeah,
people, the YouTubers. Yeah, definitely.
they're shaking things up. So this story is very different than anything I've ever seen. Um, and again, I'm giving credit where credit is due. These movies that we've been talking about JFK are great movies, but they're just not what could be done today, you
Right.
know. And today's a different thing. A couple of the guys that were interesting characters were Sam Giancana,
Mm.
who was involved in this whole thing from top down with
Right.
Sinatra and everybody
Right.
else.
Sure.
again, they've talked about this in different aspects, but never to the detail of what we did, and then killed Sam Giancana later on. I think it
Right.
was in the
Well,
76.
a lot of people don't realize that how the mob also helped Kennedy get into office, and then
Go ahead, explain that.
and then the fact that Robert F. Kennedy, his brother, who unfortunately was also assassinated, he was on a committee going up against the mob, and he's like, "Hey, man, we helped your brother get into office." And you start looking at all these little side little quests going on with all these different people, and you realize this is a nationwide conspiracy.
Yeah, yeah.
Multiple freaking tentacles all over the place. And that's what's brilliant again about your script, because you brilliantly take all these, whatever you want to call them, tentacles, and bring them together, and bam, they all come together, and you realize, holy sheep shit, this is amazing.
Yeah,
What
no,
happened to
yeah.
this one man because of this one day, and all the different people involved. You're talking about Hollywood and your screenwriting and trying to get people to read your stuff and tweak this, tweak that. Isn't that kind of like what everybody at the time was doing, tweaking everything to fit the narrative they wanted? This is our product, right? So that's the brilliance, again, like I said, of your screenplay, that you show that. You show all these people and what their motivations were to unfortunately assassinate Kennedy and ruin the lives of the people who were trying to bring truth to light. Not just Craig, but all the people that ended up dying because of this one unfortunate incident.
It is sad, and it's part of the American history. And the last guy I want to bring up, again, I'm going through my list, is
Yeah.
Ted Dealey. Ted Dealey,
Mm.
Dealey Plaza.
Oh yeah, Dealey Plaza. I would like to hope that he and his family did not want to get remembered in that way for, the assassination. But unfortunately, he too was a bad character. He was not a good person. So
He was. There was moments where he did not want Kennedy to be president.
yeah,
There was a lot of stuff going on back then. Listen, again, it goes back to the product. It goes back to what I want, not
yeah,
what you want. Whatever it is that they did.
hmm
And I think we expose the history of this. There's a history behind of what has happened, and then the CIA agents that befriended Roger Dean Craig and try to, bamboozle him in other things. The fact that the Dallas Police Department was called off on the day of the assassination. Um,
On the day of the assassination, I remember Craig also noticing the lack of police force.
that's right.
There's like police presence. Like, wait, what's going on? The president's coming. Where's everybody? Right? Things like that. The fake FBI agent that he encounters, who was he was told, no, you didn't see that. All these little things that you're like, FBI, CIA, like, what? How? It's again going back to your screenplay. When this gets made, and it will get made, people are going to be amazed. First off, by your brilliant writing, but second, just the story of this man,
Yeah.
an average everyday Joe, who
Yeah.
just tried to do the right thing, and paid the ultimate price
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, and I got to give Steve Cameron credit for bringing this project to you.
Oh, definitely. Steve
You
is a
know,
passionate fella, especially of JFK. He likes to investigate lots of conspiracies and so forth, but this one he really nailed it. He brought this to me, and I brought it to you, and together, your screenplay is just it blew me out of the water, blew him out of the water as well, and he's really proud of it, and we're just looking forward to
yeah, we got to
somebody.
produce this thing. This thing is going to come to fruition. It's just a matter
Yeah,
of timing of where it goes. But at
yeah,
the end of the day, we're talking about something. We're just trying to get the really setting the record straight. Really,
mhm,
the problem
yeah,
is again, this is not a political channel. I don't talk about politics on this.
right,
This is not a conspiracy channel. No interest of getting into conspiracies.
no,
This is a human channel talking about a lot of different things, aspects of humanity,
right,
entertainment, technology, and everything else. So I think what we've tried to do today was just to kind of brush over really what this project is, which is about Roger Dean Craig, an American hero.
right,
And you know, when I reread the screenplay as well lately, and I was just like, man, this guy went through so much shit. Oh my
Right.
God. I took it to some players that could have easily greenlit this movie, but maybe that will change. But is there anything else you would like to add to our little
Well,
conversation?
no, just again, going back to the screenplay, I mean, you humanized a man that people vilified, back then, and maybe people who may know his story still look at him in a different light. But this screenplay will show you, no, this was an American hero, told the truth, never deviated, and just wanted everybody to know what really happened that day, that he saw, and then the powers that be, you have an immigrant storyteller here who's just an amazing storyteller. Take out the immigrant, you're just an amazing storyteller,
Thank you.
amazing screenwriter. The powers that be find our script. We have it out there. We'll keep pushing it. Get it to the big screen. Any actor would die to be in this movie. It screams, once in a lifetime opportunity for them. An amazing performance. If they could have,
Decker,
yeah.
Decker could be Tom Hanks. I mean, you
I
name
mean,
it. I mean,
you, you,
Jesus.
all the top people could be in this movie because you have such a variety of amazing characters that you wove together in this amazing story. And again, people, when you get a chance and you see The Deputy at the movie theater, go and watch it and know that Steven Soprano
That's because
really
of you,
happened.
my friend, and because of your partner Steve and myself. We put it together. So, Mr. Frank Lyon, I want to thank you for coming on this podcast. I really appreciate it, and your time and your input about the deputy Roger Dean Craig. And I hope people take a listen and look and explore this a little further because of what we're trying to do.
Well, thank you again for having me on. And yeah, it was a pleasure talking about it. And I mean, the script is amazing. You're amazing. And look forward to being here anytime, buddy.
Same to you. Thank you, man. Take care.
Have a great one.